generate it. I'll send to you via chat so you can share. Yeah, so Facebook is gonna generate it anytime from now, and I would send to you so you can share with your social graph, and I'll do the same. And if people join, fine, but I'll be glad if they can join. Yeah, I got it. So let me send the link to you.
But either way, this chat is gonna be available on YouTube, right?
Yes, so I could send the Facebook and YouTube link, and we could, if it's something that you want, we can share later, or I would say market it later. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so I'm sending the.
Damn, I like this girl. She seems really good.
Yeah, she is. Oh, we have one person. Thanks for joining. Please feel free to share and ask the questions. We'll be talking about Bitcoin, economics, and politics. So, Conrad, I sent you the Facebook link. Let me find the YouTube link.
All right. I'll just click on the Facebook and have it shared.
Yeah.
Let's see. Wait, did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay. All right, because I was like,
yeah, I'm here. So, all right. So while warming up, let me just play some other songs. So we're warming up until a couple of people join, then we can start.
I guess. So I guess I shouldn't be streaming it at the same time sharing, right?
Yeah, don't stream. Just send. Just share the link on your wall so everyone will be able to join this.
All right, I think I did that already.
Right. So I'll send the Facebook link too.
Je suis toujours plus près de vous. Si je ne rappelle pas, j'allais être blanchisseur. Tellement j'ai séché les cours. Le volume c'est le 4. Les gens me suivent à la trace. Y'a même pas de chaise dans votre piole. Et c'est toi qui dis.
Oh, that's the YouTube. Okay. I'll get that one in just a bit.
Les chats m'aiment la lèche. Je ne chante pas moi les casseroles, mamite. Assiette, comment tu me trouves louche? Minx, il faut te maîtriser. Ils prennent des statuts pour des clichés B. Tu veux apprendre à me connaître.
Yo, Ash Thompson. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you stick around. This is a topic that you need to know. A lot of people need to learn about this, and I mean, even if it's for the sake of just knowing, so that you can make like informed arguments. Because you know, like if you check around, there's a lot. We'll talk about it, but a lot is happening. The media, remember, is money mostly you're dealing with. So
and lots of
so a lot of people play games that we would be the grass and those people are the elephants. So they may be making all this noise and we just take it like Elon. You think Elon cares about you? If he's talking about the stuff, imagine we just taking his words. And, so stuff like that. So Ash, stick around.
I think I do have some notes about Elon Musk.
Okay.
Address it.
Yeah, okay. So Bitcoin, economics, and society. Okay, so put the YouTube one. So put the Facebook.
Okay.
Les gens vont encore dire que maillot jaune, je m'agite qui a qui. Maillot jaune, je les gère mes baptises. Maillot jaune, je m'agite.
All right, I shared on my own wall.
Mola ne m'embrouille pas, paie-moi main. Mola ne m'embrouille pas, paie-moi main.
Let me share it with a few.
La République, l'album est presque là. Le violet collectif, le bel individuel, que les compreneurs comprennent.
Alrighty, so I think we can start. It's almost 5 minutes.
All right, we can start.
Yeah. So thanks Conrad for doing this. So I think just to give background, it started. You had posted something today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about Bitcoin, and we were chatting, and you just said you should just come here. Let's talk about it. And here you are. So. Maybe we should start by you telling us a little bit about yourself, as much as you can tell, and then we can take it from there.
All right. So I'm an industrial systems operator. What
Mashallah.
I also do, I just love talks about politics, economics, and all these things.
Okay.
And Bitcoin is something that's like it's everywhere on the media. Elon Musk and his tantrum online,
Yeah.
and this very big thing that
Yeah.
everybody keeps saying, can Bitcoin be banned? Well, that's one thing. I don't think we're here for that, but
Yeah.
I think you
Anything. We'll
mentioned
talk
that, so
about it.
we have
Yeah.
to go over that.
Yeah.
So we have to go about the is it possible Bitcoin can be banned? I'd really like for us to go over that
Okay.
too.
All right. Great. Yeah. Oops. I have an issue with one of my screens. Just a second. Let me connect it and proceed. Yeah. Okay. I see. So maybe you should tell us a little bit then about like Bitcoin, what you think it is, your understanding about it, and some of the issues you have, and we'll start from there, so that I should know how to maybe answer,
All right.
and this way the audience here they can.
Like I said, I'm going to try as much as possible not to get into any of the technicalities of Bitcoin because I would not lie or claim that I know a lot about it. I do not. But
Yeah.
if it comes to the economics and politics of it, okay, that's where I know I can almost trust my knowledge.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah, that's
I don't.
fine. And on my side, I will try to also be non-technical because I'm more of a technical person. But I mean, economics and politics are technical things. So I will try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all
So
right, but I don't want
I
us
will
to
try
start
to
going
link
into
them.
the blockchain. Let's not
Yeah.
go into the blockchain workings and all those and
I would
all
well,
this
if
that.
it doesn't need that, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see. Yeah.
hopefully because I think we mostly agree about. I think we eventually agreed on the issue of the security and the
Yeah.
network. It's solid. It's solid. Because if you ask me to frame the Bitcoin thing, I'm going to start from it's a cryptocurrency. It's called a cryptocurrency, but I do not see it as a currency. I do see it as a commodity. So that's the first thing. So
Okay.
lots of the cryptocurrency fans call it a currency, but I'm not sure it's a currency because it's not. I don't know where it's legal tender. It's you exchange. Most people exchange commodities for Bitcoin. So I think I'll start from there. And
Okay.
let's
All right.
see what else about Bitcoin. Yeah, I think we can start from there. Is it a commodity or is it a currency? Yeah, maybe you have other ideas.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And just a second while I attach my webcam. I think there was an issue with it. Yeah, so is it a commodity, or maybe we should start by differentiating what a commodity is and what how do they call it, or what a currency is.
All right.
Yeah. So
Where do we start with that? Yeah.
yeah, so I
Right.
mean, from my understanding, I think a currency is anything that you can exchange for other
Mm-hmm.
things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Yeah. Correct.
yeah, so in and I was really fascinated when I was chatting the other day about currency and stuff, and this the lady who is the CEO of Ejara, she told me that, do you know black people were once currency? So because there were times when you could pay people with slaves and stuff like that. You see, so at the end of the day, currency is something that you use to exchange it for goods and services. And interestingly, that's also almost based on consensus. So we have to agree. So you can go to some communities and they have their own thing that they use to exchange for goods and services. It could be salt, it could be rice, it could be plantain and things like that. So from that point of view, currency is not like one stamped thing, you see. So and also so far getting to the politics side of it, you see that over time, many fields have been democratized by several technologies, and many monopolies exist within several domains. So the governments have been the ones to really monopolize the major currencies we know today, like US dollars and stuff. So that alone makes it people don't really understand certain words from how they are because they've always experienced it through one kind of existence. I don't know if you see what I
Right.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that said, I don't know if I've answered your question about. So in that case, since you can
Hmm.
exchange Bitcoin for some for use it for transactions, then you can use it as a currency. You see, so and
Right.
then also mostly when people use things as currency, you call that thing money, and it's because of certain properties, right? Like it should be durable, easy to verify, scarce, portable, difficult to counterfeit, so that then it gives you the options that it really has as currency and gives you its value. And Bitcoin happens to have those properties very well. You can easily verify it on the blockchain. You can easily transfer it to people. It's scarce, and it's
Hmm.
difficult to counterfeit, and it's really portable. Like to store it, you probably need it's just uh, nowadays you probably need a wallet and your password or passcode and stuff, and you can move from Cameroon to Nigeria with millions of dollars in your head. So once you put it in the
Okay.
wallet, you put here. So
Yeah,
that's that.
we have to get to that. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I guess at this point we are agreeing. I think I don't want us to drag this
yeah,
discussion because we'll just keep going around circles.
yeah.
So you did make a good point saying it's like the it's we look at it like the medieval form of trade where I could
Yeah.
give you Gary and you give me rice.
Mm-hmm.
So those were both currencies. So we just
Mm-hmm.
instead of looking at it in the fiat way where governments define currencies. Based on their central banks and all that. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we are looking at it in these terms as a medieval trade by barter kind of currency, right?
Yeah.
So it's not,
That's
it doesn't fall into the fiat kind of currencies.
Well, it's only incidental, and we could get into those details. It's only
Hmm.
incidental that such had happened in the medieval period, but that's just because we have human beings. We are people that we always want to be better, and we always want to exchange uh, uh, assets, or it be time or whatever. So we would look for things that are valuable to us and to people. So over time, people wanted things that have these properties that we just talked about, right? So Bitcoin happens to have that. So it's incidental. It's not as though it's only tied to the medieval period because such a thing happened. I don't know if you see what I
No.
mean. So yeah.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I get it. All
yeah,
right.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
think
yeah.
we've cleared the
Yeah,
currency
right.
part. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Hmm.
Now, I think you already touched on the part
But I think we
of
should talk
value.
about the
Mhm.
security too more. So you could,
Oh yeah, let's
yeah, you
let's
could push
let's
back
go.
your
Let's
security questions. They were very serious. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
think.
that's yeah. My okay. I think let's just jump to security now because that used to be my biggest issue,
Yeah.
and then I think you did clarify some stuff. So let me give everybody context.
Yeah.
So a few people, lots of people online, crypto followers do believe that the transactions are anonymous. They cannot be tracked by governments. Governments have nothing to do with it with cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, because it's decentralized and all that.
Hmm.
And also it's also a go-to for criminals online. They prefer receiving payments in the form of crypto because they believe their transactions cannot be tracked or nobody can monitor them. But yesterday, I don't know if few people heard about it. I think last month, a hacker group based in Russia,
Hmm.
it's called what's their name again? Mm,
I can't remember. I didn't actually.
I don't remember their name. Yeah,
Yeah, but go on.
Dark
Go on.
Side. It's called
Okay,
Dark
dark
Side.
side. Okay, all right.
So they hacked US gas pipeline and with a ransomware and held it hostage
Yeah.
until Colonial Pipelines, that's the company they had to pay them $4.3 million
Yeah.
in order for them to release the systems.
Mm-hmm.
So after doing that, I think the U.S. government spoke to Colonial and got some of the payment details because based on the premise that Bitcoin is untrackable, untraceable, and all that, the transactions are anonymous. I guess that's what those guys believe too. Because true, actually, I think this is one of the first times this has happened. I think it's the
Yeah.
first incident we are experiencing where a government goes in. So this is what happened after that. After the payments were made, the guys tried to route they kept on moving the money across Bitcoin wallets. I
Mm-hmm.
think we'll get to that the wallet part. They were
Okay.
trying to move it across a Bitcoin wallet, but somehow the U.S. government got the encryption
Mm-hmm.
for one of those wallets where there was 64 Bitcoins and grabbed those Bitcoins and took them out. That's about 2.3 million dollars. So I'm asking how does, because if the premise of these things, if it's that secure, how does a government, which because Bitcoin was about to get rid of big government, which is
Mm-hmm.
always bad, so big government has finally gotten into one of those wallets and taken out the people's money. So can you clarify also what happened?
Oh yeah. So about what happened, I don't know much of the story, but I'll just base it on what you said. But it
Mm-hmm.
affected me directly because I remember I often take drives in the evening. So I remember one evening I was driving. I just thought, hey, let me fill my tank. I filled it, and the next morning, my wife told me there was no gas.
Yep.
And I was laughing. I was like, "What? Thank goodness I actually filled the gas tank the day before." And that was strange to me. It kind of, I was frightened somehow. It's one of those things where it's like here, sees lights, you probably feel like, oh, it's like the end of the
Oh
world.
yeah.
Yeah, you see, it's just almost like the end of the world. So then yeah, so but about Bitcoin, and from the story you were talking about today, it's about the wallet, right? Because the
Yeah,
Bitcoin
it's about the wallet.
yes, the Bitcoin network is a collection of computers that run the Bitcoin software, and the software is just a set of rules that they follow. You see, so all of them running that software, it has some inherent security that you only update the records. It's like a bank record, but everybody has the same. And as people are making transactions, we have to come to some agreement on how to update it. And those that everyone participates and competes in updating it. And those that the person that wins the challenge is like the World Cup. Person that wins the challenge is able to add his trophy, show his trophy there, and then he will update the record. You see, so that's called proof of work. So if you, and then each record that is added is linked to the previous record where it's coming from. It's linked to like the hash or the some secret and link to the other record in such a way that if you change any of the previous records, you would have to, it wouldn't sync with the current one, because the current one is based on the secret keys or secret links to the previous ones. You see, so that alone makes it impractical for people to really go and change the record. So that's, for a start, that's the main security issue, or that's the main security solution that the Bitcoin network proposes. It creates a ledger where it's impractical for people to change it, and to tie it to society and politics and economics. If you look at the world, when you fry eggs or stuff, those proteins in nature, those are one-way processes, and that's why many things happen the way they happen. Like you can't travel back in time, right? So, but
Yeah.
in the computer systems that we have today, people can go and change records. You could buy land, and then somebody goes and changes the records, and they will give it to their relative. And so, the blockchains and Bitcoin was built to solve those kinds of problems. And when you have a centralized location, the person in charge can change it. So, but if you have everyone in the network verifying it, and then you cannot change it with you, no one has the absolute power to change it on the fly, then it gives a security. It gives it the security. So you see the security that is inherent to the system. So yeah. So and then it's also built on public key cryptography. So I'll get a bit technical. So
No, that's fine. That's
yeah.
fine.
So it allows you to have a public key and a private key. So you could think of a public key like a username, just like you have a username on Facebook, and then a private key, which is like a password. So now what happens is for you to send money or Bitcoin to someone, you are just signing that that person can unlock. Is cryptography is a game, right? You just
Hmm.
allow that person to be able to unlock that Bitcoin. So you transfer it to them, but you're transferring it to a different puzzle where anybody with the
Right key.
anybody that solves the puzzle that is put in place will get it. And the simplest puzzle is that, okay, the person who can prove that he has this address, right, is the one who will
Hmm.
get it. So but with your public key and private key, you could generate almost a relatively infinite number of addresses. You see, so it's like a check. You have like a checkbook, right? You have different check numbers. All of them lead to your bank account. So I could
Yeah.
send you a check and do pay to the order of Conrad Chia. So if you see just the numbers that identify the check, you can't really know if it's me or not, right?
Yeah.
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 So now with this public key and private key cryptography, it's difficult to hack the blockchain itself because you can only
Hmm.
access what you can prove that you can access, and you can only prove that
Hmm.
with a private key. So the bulk of the responsibility is on the user. So now
Oh.
wallets, yeah. So wallets now are applications that manage your public and private keys. They could generate addresses and you could use them to send money and receive money. So those are implemented by people. You see what I mean?
So just yeah. Now
Yeah.
just let me just stop you. So I was looking. Are all the wallets that handle crypto Bitcoin sanctioned by the Bitcoin network, or third party can create a wallet for?
Not exactly, because I mean it's and one thing you should understand is that we're dealing with humans, right? And you can never predict human ingenuity, and it's not a network that is regulated. You see, it's open source, and they believe they've given you the tools to do your best or do your worst. And then the default Bitcoin implementation, which is called Bitcoin Core, has a wallet. It doesn't include a wallet. So there are some standard wallets that if you use, the people are not really prone to hacking them. But hacking it does not mean that it's impossible, because hacking it is just about getting your private keys in the same way that someone can hack your Facebook, not because Facebook is insecure, but because maybe you went and downloaded some virus that that searched your phone for where you store your Facebook password, because these keys are stored in the computer. So there's
No.
social. If you from industrial engineering, I mean, you guys have some security methods you use. You probably have a badge that you use to
Yeah.
get in,
Hmm.
and you have restrictions. So, but somebody can always impersonate the director and then come in and steal some information. You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
all of those happen. And remember, we're dealing with money here. So yeah. So the wallets now, people implement it. I can build a wallet. I'm actually learning how to build one. You see, I can build a
Oh,
wallet.
okay.
Yes, I could build a wallet. I could email it to you. You install it. I could put it on the app store. You download it. So it's not really regulated, but
Mm.
but it's an economy or a network that requires you to really be to take security as paramount, because you're dealing with money. It gives you custody of your assets as opposed to the current systems where you probably go to a bank to give them all your money and then they charge you for it.
All right.
Yeah.
So okay, okay, that makes sense. So let's see. I think I wanted to say something about that. Oh,
Yeah.
so we are concluding that the vulnerabilities are not within the network, but at the level of the end users. That's where we have vulnerabilities, the most vulnerability, if I may say.
Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
I was looking at the comment. Jen, could you say that again?
Yeah,
I had
I was just
vulnerability.
saying. So we are agreeing here that the vulnerabilities is at the point is at the part of the end user and not the central, the not the network itself.
Yes, not the network itself. And that ties directly with the energy arguments you would hear that Bitcoin consumes a lot of electricity. We could get into that too, but
Oh yeah, we get
that
into that. Yep.
electricity goes to the security. And just to do a little bit of, just to give you a hint of how secure the system is. So if I give you a coin to toss, right? And you
Hmm.
toss it, you have two options, head or tail. So if you
Hmm.
toss it one time, you have two options, head or tail. right? If you toast it twice, you could have head or tail, right? And
Oh,
then
yeah.
head or tail,
Just to,
or head or tail, or tail or head, or tail or tail and head, and
tail,
then
head,
yeah.
head,
So you see
tail.
that
Yeah.
you have four options. If you have to
Yeah.
toast two coins, and if you have to toast a coin twice, you would have four possibilities, right? Of how they could
Yeah.
come: head, tail, tail, head, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Four. If you toast it three times, you would have eight possibilities, right? So
Yeah.
just take 2 to the power whatever number of times you're going to toast it, because since you have two options, head or tail, and then you would have those options a number of times, it will be those options two times two times two. So that's why we say 2 to the power 3 if we have three times, right? So
Yep.
now, if you look at the bit, the bit is 1 or 0, right? So
Yep.
the way Bitcoin encrypts systems, it uses something called SHA-256. So you have 256 options. So you have to, so for it to encrypt something, it generates a number that could be any number between 0 and 2 to the power 256, right? So that's 2 to the power 256, which is like, so I don't know if you see where I'm going with this, which
Yeah. I see
gives
where
you,
you're going
yeah,
with that.
which gives you
I
like
swear.
10 to the power 78
Yeah,
options.
that's a lot of
And
us.
yeah, and the number of particles in the known universe is 10 to the power 80. So it means that if you want to guess somebody's password, or you
Oh
want
yeah.
to like hack the Bitcoin network, there's some trials for maybe one step. You need to try 2 to the power 256
Whoa.
options, or 10 to the power 78 options, which is almost like the number of particles in the universe. So that's the number of effort that you need to try to maybe undo one step, then go
All
to the
right.
next
So we
step. Yeah.
agree that the network is impervious for now.
Yes.
All right. Wait, is it impervious? Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually not penetrable. Yeah.
Yeah. It's impractical.
All
We
right.
can say impractical to penetrate for now. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Now let's see. So, value storage. You did mention it's easier to move money from one country to the other
Yeah.
with Bitcoin and
Yeah.
cryptocurrencies. Now let's go to our friend Elon Musk. I
Yeah.
get worried about business people. Let's say you're trying to move about $100 million to from Nigeria to the US because you want to do business.
Yeah.
And then Elon Musk just tweets something negative like what he did when he complained about the energy consumption of Bitcoin, and the value plummeted immediately and hasn't gone up. And he does that a lot. I think
Yeah.
there's lots of things because I did mention this the last time. The stock market is kind of volatile, but Bitcoin has another twist to it that makes it even worse than that. And if you look at how currencies, because I'm not denying that other currencies like normal currencies, dollars, pound, and all that, they are also volatile, but not as bad as Bitcoin. Because just when Trump was president and he was tweeting, if people tweeted, the spike is not just like it doesn't go up like 2% or something or 3%. It goes up about 30%, goes down by about 15%. And this kind of, I don't know if what you think about those kind of fluctuations, especially for a business person who's trying to move money into another country to do business. What do you think about that when it comes to storage of
Yeah.
value?
Actually, that's a very powerful question. I would like to really answer that.
Huh.
But just a second. Let me send something to someone. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, first of all, yes, I think the the core of this argument, or the point you're making, is about the volatility of a
Yeah,
Bitcoin. Yeah.
yep,
But
the extreme
yeah,
volatility actually.
yeah, yeah. Okay. So about Elon, first, it's not really Elon's tweets that are making it to go for the market to go like that, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Yes. So first of all, the Bitcoin network has it's a free market. It's permissionless. It's trustless. So the system tries to it wants to take away banks, the middleman, because uh, the middleman thing, the middleman problem always takes some of your expenses. So things become expensive because of how much the middleman makes it. So the middle, and you see that they've also been breaching trust and many things. When people go to, you want to buy puff puff, if you pay with your bank card, it's the bank that is paying the other person. So the bank knows all what you're doing, and they start selling that information, and you start getting ads, You see, so the system is about eliminating that middleman, right? But it broadcasts it to everybody, like in Njangi, and then like we said, the people that win the challenge can update the records. But what happens is that that happens every 10 minutes. But the market is free for people to come and mine. You bring machinery to mine it, but if the machinery is too powerful, the difficulty of that challenge goes up. You see what I
Oh,
mean?
okay.
Yes. So and then
Also
yeah,
to prevent monopoly.
yes. So that's why if you look at the way it's designed, right? It's a system that if you look at it as an engineer, you learn a lot. So it makes sure that it releases uh, 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 it has a schedule. Each miner, once you add a new record, it rewards you. In 2009, it was 50 Bitcoin. After 4 years, it cut in half. And that's how half of the total supply is released on 2140 when there will be no more releases. And so it's deflationary that way. But to maintain the and to keep it really permissionless and decentralized, everything is based on free market principles. Since you spoke about economics and you love economics, so if now I come and so there's about hashing powers. You have hash rates, like the number of hashes that, and what hashing means is just take a number or take anything and then encrypt it with a number that there's only that each time you run that process you get the same result. So if I take A and I hash it, I'll get a secret that comes from A, and that's its hash. So the puzzle that is given is that okay, you should be able to generate a number that is maybe less than 2 to the power 254, and you cannot get to 2 to the power 250. Remember we spoke of 2 to the power 256 as a large number. You cannot get to 2 to the power 254 without hashing all the other ones and testing. So you need a very fast machine that hashes very fast, right? So now, as people are doing that, they create more machines to be faster. So if the network sees that it took 8 minutes to add a new block, it will after like 2 weeks it will readjust, update the difficulty. You see?
Okay.
Yeah. So now, China has said they will ban Bitcoin or they will stop mining. So a couple of miners had dismantled their mining equipment and they were leaving, right? So you see now that the network difficulty is a sum total of all the miners. So if some people leave, right, it becomes hard. The network activity reduces until it readjusts to the current power. So those all of those things affect the price of Bitcoin because maybe those miners for them to do whatever they're doing, they'll need to sell, and if supply goes up, prices will go down. And I'm just giving you this detail since because of economics, right? And then so those are the kinds of things that make the price of Bitcoin go up and down. So Elon's tweet, yes, it has a cost, but it's not like it's only because of Elon's tweet. So I'm just showing you the dynamics that are going underneath that cause that. And then and the reason I gave you the detail about the hash rates and the rest is because when you understand Bitcoin, you could see the value of Bitcoin based on like hash rates and things like that. So there's a tendency to recalibrate your brain to figure out the value of things based on Bitcoin. So you may not need US dollars, right? So in that case, if you can determine that this deal that you and I are doing is worth 1 Bitcoin, and we're not saying it relative to US dollars or euros, then it doesn't matter because 1 Bitcoin will always be 1 Bitcoin. I don't know if you see what I mean. So, but
Yeah,
since it's
that's
still new and it's not gotten to that level where people have adopted it and recalibrated themselves to be able to think in terms of Bitcoin and stuff, then that's why the volatilities are there, because the volatility is relative to US dollar. 1 Bitcoin will still be 1 Bitcoin, but you could buy it for 3,000 when it goes down. But if we are doing business and our back end and everything we do it in Bitcoin, we will not care about those.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sorry if
Yeah.
I went around. I just wanted you to really get the core of
Oh
what
yeah,
it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah.
So now, why would I store my value in considering the volatility? Considering that it is more volatile than, let's say, GBP and USD, why should I store my value in BTC?
Well, you can say for sure that it's more volatile than USD and BTC. And sorry,
I've been looking at the
and
trends. We can just go back. We can
oh
just
no,
pull
no,
up
you you
graphs.
can, and that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying, like,
Mhm.
um, if you look at so volatility is everywhere, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Everything. If you look, even Google and Facebook, they're more volatile than BTC. If you check, you would see
Yeah,
that. Yeah. So now, but one thing you should understand too is the structure of the society, and this takes us to the economics and perhaps the politics too. So, in the economy, there is inflation rate, right? But that aside, if you go to the bank now to withdraw 100 million USD,
mhm.
you will not be given that money.
No.
And suppose that you were given that money, you'd see that many people will probably lose their jobs, and then many things will happen because, first, due to fractional reserve banking, the money is not really sitting in the box. They've probably loaned it to someone else, and then some loan that is defaulted. So if you have to trace back all those things, you would see the problems that withdrawing that 100 million can give you. So, but even if that happens in the normal economy, it happens once in a while. You will see the results maybe after 5 years, right? For
Yep.
everything to sync itself. But the
Yep.
Bitcoin network, it audits itself every 10 minutes. So as records are adding, everyone in the world gets the record wherever they are. The ones that participate in the network, they get the updated records every 10 minutes, right? So you have a network that audits itself every 10 minutes. So it's transparent enough to show you what is happening every 10 minutes. So that's also one reason why you see the volatility relative to US dollars and the other assets again. But if we go back to the point of recalibrating yourself to be able to express things in Bitcoin, you will not need those yeah. I don't know if you see what I mean. You will not
Yeah, I
need
see.
those,
I
yeah.
see. I get where you're
Yes,
going with
and
that.
secondly, so just watch and see because it's a technology that is growing, and once you understand how it's put together, you'd see that it has a critical role in the future in future systems, and once that happens, the way it is engineered, it could a lot of other systems can be built on top of it, like streaming. And I will give you an example. One Bitcoin can be split into 10 to the 8. That's 100 million pieces called satoshis, and Bitcoin is programmable money. So you and I could have a contract, and since it's programmable, you could write scripts on top of it, right? So you and I could have a contract where, let's say, we have this podcast, and for someone to watch it, we sell 1 second 1 satoshi. 1 satoshi is like
Mhm.
1/100 million Bitcoin. So we sell it 1 satoshi. So we could program it in a way that every 1 second you pay, even any streaming activity. It could be a meter where you go park your car and it's saying every 1 minute you pay this amount. The Bitcoin network can be used to build things like that. So you could have systems that deal exactly that are like calibrated to work exact. You pay as you go. So because
Yeah.
every 1 second it shoots that, and you see that if you take $1, you cannot split. You can split it into 10 pieces, right? So
Yeah.
imagine taking one Bitcoin and splitting into 100 million pieces. It's like taking one bread and breaking it into a hundred
Oh yeah,
million parts.
that's actually more efficient. That's actually
Yeah.
more efficient. And now this brings me to okay, so you just highlighted something very important.
Hmm.
I think you'd like this news. So I noticed yesterday El Salvador says they're trying to make
Yeah.
Bitcoin legal tender in the country,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking, let's say we've learned. I don't know if you like, because I also like learning about weapons.
Yeah.
There is EMP weapons. I've just there's EMP weapons that literally screw up all the electricity in a region. So I'm thinking, let's see if people keep adopting Bitcoin and somehow there's something happens bad and then somebody uses an EMP weapons and fries the power grids in the country. How do we go from there? Where do we go from there? Because with fiscal currencies, like with conventional currencies, dollars, we can still trade with hard paper dollars and all that,
Yeah. Right.
and quarters and all that. But with Bitcoin, it's electronic. So how do we
Yeah,
deal with
that's a very interesting question, and those are things that as people are adopting Bitcoin, and with the wealth and the value that Bitcoin creates, I think to be able to create systems that are resilient.
that?
Yeah, but on the side. I know
about
because
EMPs.
you asked like a what if question, so I also want to answer like an if question,
No,
right?
it's not. It's so okay. Let's say so EMPs are not what if they're actually
No,
available.
no, they are
China has it.
available. No, no, they are available, but you would only see the effect if they succeed to do the attack. That's what I mean. So it's
No,
available, but what you're saying will only happen when it happens, but it's not yet happened. So that's why I'm
no.
saying if, right? So which means that the Bitcoin pool can also say that if they attack this, maybe now we cannot defend ourselves, so we'll have to develop this kind of a system. So that's also a possibility in the same way that it's possible for pool to attack all the electricity. But that aside, the Bitcoin, you have physical wallets, so you could also write it down on a piece of paper. You see, because it's information. So each
Hmm.
when I do normally you have block explorers online and stuff. So what happens is if I send you a transaction, everything is hashed. So the transaction itself is hashed. That's its own ID. Then the block or the row where the transaction belongs is also hashed and stuff like that. And all those hashes can be shared around. So each Bitcoin transaction that you do to me has a hash that I can use to verify online, right? But if I
Hmm.
have those records, I could actually write them down if I want, right? And so long as I have my private key and public key, one day if I get into a system where I can connect with other people, I could punch in those things. So I just want to show you how it's not like it's not possible. I want to show you how that can happen. Yeah.
How long are those records?
Sorry.
How many characters those records have?
So I think now you probably have like 256 and then divided by 8. We used to have like 32 bytes, I think, like 32 characters and stuff. But what happens if I don't know if you're
Oh,
used to
that's not
systems?
terrible.
Yeah, because remember one character you could encode one character in 1 byte. So even if I
Correct. Yeah.
say and 1 byte is 8 bits, so if I say 256 bits, we will always bring it down to bytes. You see, so
Yeah.
of which
Hmm.
you could also use like hexadecimal.
Yeah.
Hexadecimal is base 16. So
Yeah.
you could represent 16 things in one, and so there's a way to shorten it, right? And that aside, systems to that hash, there's a way that the first four of three numbers can always make it unique. So there's systems where you just need to provide the first four or five, and it can know what you're talking about because they're
Oh
often
yeah.
unique. Yeah.
This is. Oh yeah. Yeah. I
Yes,
get that.
but you have what they call hardware wallets. So hardware wallets, like you can put it in USB. So for example, if I take it and plug it in here, it has my keys and everything. I plug it in here and I do what I want to do, and I take it out, and that way it's in cold storage so that people cannot hack my computers. So yes, if that
Oh.
yeah,
Okay.
so
Oh.
yeah,
Really?
yeah. So the hardware wallets. I wanted
Huh.
to give this last because like is this is just a reality. So I wanted to start as though what you're saying the network would be dead before showing you that no. So the hardware
Okay.
wallets.
So we can move our bitcoins into this
Yes,
cool storage in USB drives and all that.
yes. You can move in a USB drive. You can write it on a piece of paper. Like you could put it
Oh.
in. Yes. So just to show you that, and you could even print it, right? You could print it like on stuff. It's just that when you spend it, if you print is for you to get it and spend when you want, but the network will not allow double spending. So if you're printing it on a node and then you use that node, it's no more yours. You see what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That
So
makes sense.
so yeah. So that's that about that. But again, if let's say we lose electricity, then we would only need to wait until we have some equipment to plug in that USB. So it still puts a difficulty, and but there are systems now. People are trying to move into solar. Like I read today, Square just donated. I think they gave $5 million in an endeavor to create like a solar energy or facility for mining Bitcoin. Yeah, so
Okay.
as people are moving to solar and other forms of energy, then electricity, even if you wipe it out, the network will still survive. And just to
All right.
summarize, one thing you should understand about the network is it being distributed helps it scale. It's for scalability, so that you don't have one central location, and then it's like the in Islam, let's say many Muslims know the Quran offhand, right? So even if you burn all the Qurans that you see, Muslims just need to lock themselves in one mosque, and they'll write a new Quran.
Right.
They will recite it. They will recite it and write it down. That you have a new Quran. So that's how the Bitcoin network is. Everyone that participates has a copy of the network. So for you to even wipe it out, it comes to the banning issue. For you to wipe it out, you need to
Exactly.
wipe out
That's the next.
every human being and not leave even one person that has a copy of the Bitcoin network. Because if they
Now
do, yeah.
let's go to the ban issue, because that's
Yes.
quite an interesting,
Yes, please. Let's
because
go
you
to
did,
that one.
I think you're very adamant about it is, you do say it's impossible for Bitcoin to be banned. China recently decided they are going to start going after Bitcoin mining, and they don't want to have anything that looks like a concurrent currency going up against, I don't know what their currency is called. They just do not want that. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at the ban. I'm looking at the possibilities for a ban,
Mm-hmm.
because either ways, Bitcoin requires wallets which are mobile apps or computers. So what if they ban all those? What if they make it impossible for people to access any of these? You remember there was a time when WhatsApp was, internet was completely banned in Cameroon and all that, and
Yeah.
then in Nigeria recently, they targeted Twitter.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, what if okay, what if China has Google Play Store and Apple Store,
Yeah.
remove all forms of wallets on their platforms,
Yeah.
and other countries follow suit.
Yeah, just to again, thanks for these questions. They're really powerful, and again, it's like what if, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But
What if?
let's look at it. Yeah, but let's look at it. So you mentioned Twitter, you mentioned even the internet before. That's why Bitcoin was built. It's decentralized. When something is centralized, you have one point of attack. Like you can go to that main source and stop it, and every other person will not get it. So that's why it's decentralized. There's no central location. There's no single point of attack. So remember when I was saying that, when I was trying to give you an example of like what happens if you try to hack, how for one line you would have 2 to the power
Mm-hmm.
256. Okay, now with Bitcoin, uh, if you have to change, let's just look at one thing. If you have to change the record, I'll need to change it in my own computer, my node. I have a Bitcoin node running here on this computer. So I'll need to change the record, jump into your own computer, change it, jump into the other person's computer, jump into everybody's computer that has it, and then I change it. And I sent you some picture of the probability that they did the
Yeah.
math
Oh,
where
yeah.
like a hacker is. So, and
Yes.
as you're changing it, even if the blocks are just adding like 10 minutes, you have 10 minutes to change all the records in my computer, of which you need like hundreds of millions of years to change that. When you finish,
The government. Okay, the government is not going.
when you
Let's be
finish,
certain about that. The government will not go that route. No,
so when you
no
finish,
government is going to
you
try
jump to
that.
the other one. So, Bert, you made some important points about the part about the App Store. Those are not just the only means for distributing the application. They will have to stop live because you have to stop email. I could email you a copy. I could zip together the copy of the Bitcoin, any Bitcoin wallet, even like Bitcoin Core, and email it to you, and you can install in your computer, or you can go to their website. Unless they block all of those things, of which when they block all of those, the Bitcoin satellites now, where like you can connect directly to it. And yeah, the people in this space have money, man. Like the Bitcoin satellites that you can connect directly to it. And the thing with Bitcoin is we don't need the internet. The internet is just one medium, right, of exchanging information. So if we create a local network and your computer is on it and my computer is on it, we can connect. So I could send you messages. And Bitcoin is not just for money. You could send, if you have a Bitcoin, if you're on the Bitcoin network, I could send you a message, and we could write programs on top of it that accept certain messages. Those that mine and add to the ledger, the messages have to be to follow the format that the Bitcoin network accepts, or the protocol. So if it doesn't follow the protocol, they ignore it. But which means if you program your computer to accept a certain message, you will receive that message. Why every other so you and I can communicate on the Bitcoin network, just like we do with WhatsApp or so. You see, so that said, they will need to block every computer. They will have to stop life in order to stop that. But if we look at the things about banning mining, and that's very possible. So if places that had mining in China, the places that it's a free market, so people are attracted to places with cheap electricity, because for you to compete on the Bitcoin network, you need cheap electricity. You have to spend less to get more. If not, you'll not compete, right?
Yeah.
So imagine like I don't know where you're located, but in
Massachusetts.
sorry,
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Oh wow, great. So in let's say here in the States, right, there are places that have, let's say they have windmills or they may have a dam. That place has excess electricity. Even in Cameroon, if you go to the places that have dams, right, like where you have a, like in Cameroon, I forget the places that have dams, or you already see a Sonel
I'm in
office.
the
Yeah, or you already see a Sonel office that has that maybe doesn't have electricity. They often have excess. The same like if you go to Supermon, there's a tap that water always comes out of it. So Bitcoin miners are often attracted to places like that where they will have stable electricity, and then there's always a surplus before it's transported on electricity lines to other places, right? So now, if you ban mining right there,
Yep.
they will
Point of
go to,
failure.
yeah. If you ban it, fine, that's fine. But like we said, for you to compete, to even be able to compete, you have to use the cheapest electricity. So if they ban it, it means it's expensive for you to mine there. And the mining equipment are very simple. Like people use Raspberry Pis. I was actually going to buy one Raspberry Pi today. If you just Google online and see like mining rigs, maybe when you hear the word, you may think it's a big thing, but it's easy to dismantle it. It's easy to put it together. So it's something that if you look at it, right? Let me see if I could Google one while we're chatting.
Yeah.
So
I'm just.
yeah,
Oh,
so
it's just a chip.
yeah, so let me share my screen. I
Yeah,
just
it's a chip.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. This
Interesting.
this is a field that if you look into it, you would be
Yeah.
fascinated by what is happening. So so there, let me share it to Facebook. So
Yeah.
yeah, so this thing here. So that's the mining. You see, like this is a mining rig. It's easy to assemble, and so this is one. So you could take all of these small things and put them in a bag, right? In a backpack, dismantle this, put it in a
Mm-hmm.
suitcase. So this is a whole mining rig right here. You see? So now uh uh if they ban it like they did in China, fine. The people will move somewhere else. Like a lot of there are reports now that a lot of mining power is moving to the United States, and that's after China's ban. But since you're interested in politics, Bitcoin is something that China always bans. Uh,
Yeah,
so
I know.
yeah,
They never like.
so
They don't like.
not that they don't like it. Some people I don't know, but some people say that's how they try to get more, because when they ban it, right, especially when the difficulty is at a certain height, the miners, a lot of miners stop, the prices fall, they buy more, and then so they try to get ahead. It's a whole game. So if you're in the Bitcoin space, you would see like El Salvador. You had mentioned that they bought Bitcoin. So countries are also fighting this war to have their own currency, or currency plays an important role in ruling the world or having power. So now if people see a currency that they think is going to have a position in future, they will try to get it as much as possible. So some people have this theory that like China is fond of doing that. From 2017 and other years, they ban it. Even India, they ban it, the prices go down. Then later they say no, they've uplifted the ban. Then later they ban it, and then so if they keep doing that, there's something that they're doing. You see, so I don't know if I addressed that, but what drives
Yeah.
Bitcoin is economic activity, and so think of it this way. This is a summary of it. The If you believe that Facebook solves problems, or let me go to something like Microsoft Word solves editing problems. You could write your thesis in it, print it. If you think that it's better in terms of our standards and in terms of our civilization compared to the printing press, where they had to use iron, melt ink, and then stamp it on pages or cloth or whatever. If you think Microsoft Word simplifies that and was engineered to revolutionize that industry, then think of Bitcoin as an application or a system that is meant to revolutionize finance, asset management, and stuff like that. So it's engineered. So the people that did it studied the properties of a system that they think will work, help people manage assets, have money that people cannot control, and stuff like that. Also have it an open market where people can jump in and out, and engineer in a way that it adjusts itself so that the schedule is the same no matter if they jump out, but the system can take a hit. You see that if people can engineer Microsoft Word, then know that they also engineered Bitcoin for that. So study it and see what it is. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's the summary
Yeah,
to like explain how that.
actually brought out some very interesting things about. Yeah. Actually, the fun thing is we've actually hit all the points I wanted to talk on without even noticing. And you actually brought out some very interesting things that I really want to take a look at, because I didn't know there was cold storage for Bitcoin and
Yeah,
to
there
write it
is.
down on
And feel
papers.
free
I
any
had
other
no
question.
idea.
Yeah, and feel free any other question. Even one that pops on now. We're on
Let, let,
56 minutes. I think we have some more
yeah,
time to like whip it
yeah. Let's
together.
see if I think yeah. I was also going to go on about this energy thing, which we already answered, because I was just like, okay, what if energy fails? But you said you can have it on papers and all that,
Yeah,
which is yeah. We can also burn all. We can also burn all forms of money, which is the same thing that could.
yeah,
I'm not going to deny you that. Let's
exactly.
see.
Yeah.
And I think there's one last thing about the value,
Mm-hmm.
because let's say I think the British government, because yeah, I think we haven't touched on this one. So you do know that people, some of these trading platforms, Robinhood and others, they
Yeah.
do buy Bitcoin certificates and sell to their, and not they don't sell exactly, they just sell a portion of what they have as stocks to their
Yeah. Yeah.
customers.
Right. Uh-huh.
And that also that has been helping the Bitcoin value. That's what lots of its fans fail to understand. They always think that, oh, it's always peer to peer and all that, but the stock market helps it a lot, because it's offered these platforms, Robinhood and others. They have a huge part of Bitcoin, and people use fiat currencies. Fiat, I don't know. I keep calling fiat.
Yeah.
People use fiat currencies to buy Bitcoin. Let's see, from bit,
Coinbase.
pounds to
Yeah.
Bitcoin,
Many. I
USD
buy
to,
all the time. I buy
yeah,
all the time.
using your currency,
Yeah.
right?
US dollars. Yeah.
Exactly. So yes, so we know now that at that level, the government has direct control over whatever you're doing. So what if the government decides and says, okay, no, we no longer want any of that happening, and then they stop all that form of transaction? Don't you think
Yeah.
the network is going to take a serious value hit?
Yeah, again, thanks to that question. All your questions are really, really interesting, and they touch the core ethos of Bitcoin. But one thing that you should notice is that underneath this question is the idea that Bitcoin is against the government. And remember, it's a software. It's like an elephant, right? And we are the blind people. We can always put our agenda in front. I could describe Bitcoin the way I see it, and then if 100 people get that, they may think that's what Bitcoin is, right? But to go directly to your question, uh, uh, the government in the United States, they cannot really do that. It comes back to banning Bitcoin proper, right? Like back in the day when cryptographic systems were picking up, and I think there was this system that they had built that could be a weapon, and the government was trying to ban it. So when they took it to the Supreme Court, the way that they won the case was that they printed the software on piece of paper and showed the judge that can this cause any harm? This is like speech. Yeah, this is speech. So they cannot ban Bitcoin like that without violating the breaching the constitution, because Bitcoin is also a protocol, and that's one argument I was making, that it's a protocol. For you to exchange information on the internet, you would mostly use HTTP protocol or HTTPS if you want it to be
Yeah.
secured, where
Secure.
you would say, okay, you would say where it is, the you put like the server that you want to request something from, you put your request body and then all of those things, and then that's how that message is a package. It's like how when we write letters, remember when you're in secondary school, they will teach you how to write, put your name, address on the left,
Yeah,
then put DSM
yeah.
madam. That's a protocol.
Sis.
Yes, that's a method, a technique for. So when people see letters, it's easy to for people to participate in that economy because of that format. So you could ban the actual sending of the letter, but you see that if you have a system that is both a protocol and then it has tangibles on top of it, banning it is kind of tricky because the protocol is abstract. The protocol is just a way of doing things. So when you look at it from that point, you see that you can't ban Bitcoin. You see, because
Well, I can just tell my people not to use my fiat currency to buy it. Like, because Britain tried that. I think late last year, Britain said it was going to prevent banks from GBP from buying
yeah, yeah,
any
and
Bitcoin.
that's fine.
And
That
they're not touching Bitcoin. They're just saying, okay, you can't use our currency to buy Bitcoin.
yeah, and
So they're not banning anything.
yeah, great. Okay, so now the system is permissionless, it's trustless. All what you need to do is to buy, not really buy. If you have a computer, you install the software, you could start dealing with Bitcoin. So every other thing is exchange, and every other thing are social activities on top of Bitcoin. So if the government is banning people from not buying or from buying with their currency, that's just one activity they're restricting. It doesn't stop me from meeting you in person and giving you that currency if you want it. But also, if you look at, I think after this, I will just give you like tell you now about Bitcoin. But if you look at it, you'd see that in terms of currency is very superior because over time it becomes valuable and it has a fundamental role in the future. So if so most people don't even, that's why people buy Bitcoin, because most people don't want, like, I don't want US dollars, that's why I go buy Bitcoin. I don't even see what I mean. So I don't want US dollars, that's why I buy Bitcoin. If not, I'll keep the US dollars. But that's not really the case. So I'll talk about it. I'll just give you a synopsis of the ecosystem. So if governments ban that, maybe at the level of the banks, they they to me that would be a mistake, because there will just be those that have not understood the system, because it's something that if they participate in, they would help a lot. But it's hard for them because they will lose the monopoly on their own currencies, of which they may not lose if they really understand how things are to work. You
So
see.
you think it's not a threat to individual? Okay, yeah, good. I think I'm glad you brought that up, because the only rationale government is going to want to ban Bitcoin is because they think it's a threat to their own currencies, and that's how they maintain control over their sovereignty by holding that. So don't you think it's a threat to
Great,
people's currencies and all
great
that?
question. Great question again. So now, just a second.
Yay! Yay, boy! Yeah.
Oh, thanks for waiting. I think,
And that's fine. That's still
yeah,
inside.
yeah,
Is it a boy? Oh
yeah.
God.
Oh, it's a boy.
Ah, okay. Hey.
So I think you just woke up from sleep. So yeah. So like I was saying, we're talking about the government stopping people from using their currencies, right? So
Because it's a threat to their sovereignty and all that.
yes, it is a threat to the sovereignty, but it was also Bitcoin. So you see that they will be shooting themselves in the foot because uh, the currencies also have a market, right? They have demand and
Hmm.
supply. So if
Yeah,
you are
yeah, yeah.
stopping people from using it, you are reducing the demand. You see what I
Oh,
mean?
oh, oh, oh,
Yes.
oh, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
So that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you really look at Bitcoin for what it is, it's going to educate you. It's to teach you a lot
yeah,
of things because,
yeah. That makes sense.
first of all, it's about custody. The original ethos is about taking. So maybe I should just use this opportunity and tell you about it, but I'll finish that point.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So yeah, so it's about taking, uh, giving power to the individual because if you look at history, from gold and to the rest, people could not transport gold, so you keep it somewhere, take a certificate, and then so
Hmm.
over time, the possession of that gold became centralized, right? And that's
Yeah.
how banknotes came to be. So until then they started counterfeiting. If you look at most civilizations that are falling, is because of inflation. So this is something we should talk
Yeah.
about.
Inflation.
Inflation is a
Yeah.
very yes,
I really wanted us to talk about
yes.
inflation.
Okay,
Yeah.
after this then we can. And now, so it's a matter of demand and supply. If you stop people from using your currency to buy Bitcoin, the demand goes down, right? At the level of which they are using it to do that. So, but since the ethos is to empower the individual, nothing stops you from going to the bank, withdrawing your cash, and then meeting me somewhere and giving me the cash, and I transfer Bitcoin to your wallet. That's if I want to keep. That's if I want to keep US dollars or
Oh my
the
God. Oh my
pound.
God. Oh my
Yeah.
God. This is interesting.
Yes. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
why I.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
why I
yeah.
summarized it like this: that if you believe that Microsoft Word is a revolution based on the printing press, and you rather use Microsoft Word than go back and use the printing, let's say the old machines in the, let's say 1800s, 1700s. If you believe that Microsoft Word is superior, it gives you tools to manage editing documents, then Bitcoin is similar, but in the financial and asset management
Yeah,
space.
yeah.
Yeah.
That I'm sold on that. I'm
Yeah,
sold.
so it's designed and engineered. It's a machine. It's a system of. It's a suite of protocols, applications, machinery, networks, everything to ease individuals and their ability to manage wealth and their assets. So again, if the bank is stopping that or the government is stopping that, they are just doing what Bitcoin is trying to fight. Because why on earth should you stop people from doing things? Like all of
Yeah.
us are animals. You see,
Yeah, because
so
that's
yeah,
true. Because
yeah,
it's a commodity. You shouldn't.
yeah,
The government shouldn't. Let me give that to you. The government shouldn't stop me from buying chicken or rice. And
exactly.
Bitcoin is a commodity, so they shouldn't stop me from buying that. So that's.
Yes.
I don't think that's gonna work. You're right.
Exactly. So if they're
Yeah.
stopping, they're shooting themselves in the foot. If you look at the economics and the politics behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah.
with
That's
that now,
answered.
I think I could give you now the summary of like Bitcoin and the whole
Oh yeah.
space.
Please.
Yeah. So I mean it comes there is a video on this too that we had done last episode, but I'll just try to summarize. So I mean
Hmm.
it's an effort. It's Bitcoin is not new per se. It's just the collection of tools that already existed that they put together to meet this system. Because back in the 70s, a couple of cryptographers were worried about society. And if you have read like see George Orwell and other
Hmm.
books,
Hmm.
yeah, so lots of people were worried about utopians that governments could create and the kinds of control that governments were having, the kinds of wars that were fought. and kinds of decisions that governments would take, just take like that without even consulting the people and the rest. And America is a place where people think and they're mostly free. They're backed by the Constitution and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there were many libertarians that really had issues with what was going on. You see, so they
Mm-hmm.
believe that for a society to really function, people should be able to have power over property. There's property rights and contracts, right? Should be things that people really have power over, and so they started trying to use cryptography to enforce those, because the systems that they saw were really violating that kind of libertarian mindset of the world. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even such systems like cryptography, some kind of core cryptography was even banned before. You see, so but they had groups. So there was this group called the cyberpunks. So they had been trying to create currencies. So now let's get to the inflation problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the 1970s, Nixon he took America off the gold standard. You
Yeah.
see, so and then America was actually serving. So I hear that what happens is the America after the Second World War almost became the reserve of the world. They're the ones that had money and they were far from the war. So they just came and won the war and became this world superpower. So they had
Mm-hmm.
now the gold reserves of almost everybody, France and people like that. So, but when they were fighting, is it the Cold War, the other wars that they were fighting, they started spending and issuing themselves more money, and the other governments were like, this does not make sense. It looks like we are the ones funding it looks like we're the ones who will be funding America's a war. So there was a time the French sent a battle ship to battle air, how do they call this, the battle jet, to come and take their gold. So they came to America. America said no gold. They didn't have it, and the others like Germany, they started asking, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and from then they had to depeg the U.S. dollar from gold. You see, so that meant,
Oh,
yeah. So that means that they could just print US dollars as the one.
from
So
space, yes.
yes, exactly. So but what happens is that that's where inflation comes in now. If you inflate the money by let's say 10% a year, it means if I have $1, after 10 years that $1 will be worth nothing. It's like
Yes,
you have this
zero.
grenadine, and if I'm putting water at a certain rate, let's say 10% again, it means after 10, let's say every hour I increase water 10%. After like 10 hours, the water and the grenadine will be the same, right? I must have diluted it into water. So the same thing with money. So, but the modern society is engineered that way. Uh, Due to fractional
Yes.
banking,
Mm-hmm.
fractional reserve banking, you can go to a bank and get a loan for a house. The bank will give you a check. Let's say 500,000. They'll give you a check for 500,000, which you give them to cash it, which they will, which they would credit your account with that $500, and you take it and credit another the house, the
Yeah.
retail. So, but where did that 500,000 come from?
Come from.
You see that
Yeah.
it maybe came out from nowhere. So that's
Yeah.
how inflation happens, but it just depends on whatever bubble or whatever take. But bank, it's through banking. That's how inflation happens. So people start losing value, right? And if you have, if so, which means your future is stolen. If you work
Yeah.
now and you go save $100 and they're printing more money, you will not have the same purchasing power of that $100. So there's
Yeah.
no need for you to even save. And then, but the the key to recognizing inflation is through interest rates. So if you put your money in the bank, and after 1 month, let's say you put $100, after 1 month it's still $100, the interest rates are low. So that means
Yeah.
inflation is high, and
Yeah.
the money is losing its value. It doesn't have any value, because if it had value, it would make more.
In the beginning, yeah, you
Yeah.
make more, yeah.
So with that, you see the problems that the modern consumer is facing. you see that societies and the current banking systems and economics and politics, since you are interested in those, they kind of favor consumerism. So you just need to be consuming perpetually. Yeah. So I think to avoid me from just talking and talking as if I'm a pastor, I think
No,
we
no,
could
no.
discuss about this and how you see it. Then we can take it from there. But that's the progression of like how Bitcoin came to be.
Yeah, actually, I was actually already looking at the direction you were trying to go about this inflation thing because eventually, let's say, because people are worried about the USD, the fact that it's not tied to anything. If you notice during this pandemic when it was rampant, government started getting churning out amounts of money
Yeah,
nobody
they're
knew
printing
about,
it trillions of
just
dollars.
pumping it. Some people are like, okay, yeah, now there's going to be, and it's not like they just give it out. And when you do that, definitely the value of dollar goes. I think Russia said they are going to pull out of
Yeah, I
their
read that
reserves out of the
yesterday.
dollar.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
which is kind of concerning.
I read that yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, if everybody's, because that's going to cause some more inflation. Because if Russia does that, they end up pumping more dollars into the market, and then if there is more dollars in the market, then the value of the dollar is going lower. So I'm like, okay, what do we? Because let's say we all send money back home. So if let's say you're trying to send $1 back home, now it's about 3.90 something,
Yeah, right. You
and
see,
it keeps going down. Eventually, you're like, why the hell do you even live here?
I prefer to still send people Bitcoin. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I actually see where you're going with
yeah.
that. So I'm guessing the idea is to have something that is to create value in Bitcoin, so people see they need to have it, and then start investing in it, and you can hold it as an alternative
As
form
a
of
hedge.
currency in case
Yes. So
if you
okay.
depend.
Yeah, so that makes sense. That can be factored into it. So at least you now see the issues that we have because of inflation, right? And then another thing is that after the gold standard, after like America came out of dollars, I think they banned individuals from having gold and stuff like that. And then actually it's out there. You could always search it. Like if you look at the history of money, you see a lot of things. So
Yeah,
there was time when they banned individuals from using their gold and like using gold, and I think FBI agents were actually following people up and checking stuff out like that. So now that the moral in that is the aspect of control. So which means privacy is an issue. You see, so people can own stuff and people can do stuff the way they want. So not only do you have situations where like your money is diluted, making you to maybe work your whole life and save, but
yeah,
having nothing to. I mean,
and
it's a
save
very
worthless
serious.
money.
Yeah, it's a very serious issue because
It is. It
why are we
is.
working if like when I retire, my pension will not have any value. If
It'll
I
be
have
worthless.
yeah, if I have maybe one operation to do, it costs let's say $2 million, because but I was only able to save $300,000 while I was working, just because the prices of everything have gone up so much, so that like that
Yeah,
operation so you see what I mean. So those are the kinds of
yeah,
issues that we face in an inflationary society, right? So
yeah,
and
yeah,
then yeah, so and then uh privacy. So so now one problem to that, so with all of those things happening, people had been trying to create and with the internet rising, people have been trying to create internet money that they can use on the internet. But the
mm,
problem was that how do you avoid the double spending problem, so that if I give you that
yeah,
money, I cannot pay myself that same money, because if I give you cash, you're gone, right? You can take it and
yeah.
go. Yeah, I cannot double spend that cash, right? So then,
Hmm.
uh, uh, what else? And then banks act as middlemen. If I buy puff puff, anything I buy, they have to know, and that's why if you go to certain shops, you have a minimum you have to pay. Let's say $12 if you have to use a card, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
then they want to
Hmm.
protect you against fraud, so they would take your social security, so take all the, so you see the privacy is on the line. So these are the
Yeah,
issues that those cryptographers wanted to solve. So they wanted to solve the trust problem, the permissions problem, and and then the ownership problem. So inside of those, you'd see that people need to be able to control their assets, and then they should have privacy. They should give you only the information they want to give you. You see, it doesn't mean the law cannot be applied, but it actually provides a stage upon which the law can be properly applied. You see,
No.
so yeah. So with that,
Yeah,
Bitcoin.
right.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
listening. Right.
So with that, Bitcoin was created by Satoshi Nakamoto to solve the privacy issue, the censorship issue, the trust issue, and which also like is an umbrella for privacy and asset management. So he and this Bitcoin is also a solution to a mathematics problem that had not been solved, called the Byzantine general problem.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is that how do you make distributed systems to have the same record and minimize how people can cheat? That's or let me summarize it. How do you have a set of people who do not need to trust each other to that can update some record to trust the record? Because I don't know you, you don't know me, we don't know anyone, but in the
Yeah,
Bitcoin
yeah,
network we have to be sure that our balances are correct. But so you see what I mean? So that was a
yeah.
problem called the Byzantine problem that was formulated by this mathematician. He also took the Turing Award for, I forgot his name. He's the one who created LaTeX, I think. He took the Turing Award for 1 year. I forgot his name. So I used to like that guy as a computer scientist. So he designed that problem to say if you all of us are generals who want to go and attack a city, how do we use our spies and everyone and make sure we have the right information? Whereas anyone could be a spy. You see what I mean? So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah. So Satoshi Nakamoto. Anyway, I think we can stop here for now too, so you can tell me what you think. Yeah, and we're getting close.
Yeah,
So let me keep this
yeah.
mindset down.
Because no, actually, that's it's quite a fast because I have never looked into the origins of Bitcoin and all that. I just see the rantings online about banning it and governments getting angry, to usurping their authority and all that. So this is actually quite an interesting addition I have now. I think I'm going to look up more into these, and
Yeah, it's
yeah, I've
actually a
learned quite a
summary.
lot.
Yeah, that's how. And I mean, you I don't know if you've felt that already, but like Bitcoin is a system. And I'll be glad if we can be having this chat so we all can learn. It's a
Oh yeah,
system that.
I'll
Yeah.
definitely
Hmm.
want to come back and
Hmm.
have, because now I've there's lots of things I've just learned. I'll go
Yeah.
back and then look at
Yeah.
any issues I and I'll always ask you.
Exactly.
Okay,
And
because
yeah.
now I see different. Because honestly, initially, right, I had no idea about the other. I had no idea about messaging, about people
Yeah.
being able to
Man. Yeah.
develop other software on Bitcoin, and that's great.
Yeah, man. A
That
lot
looks
of
like
things.
something really
Yeah,
interesting.
like is a lot of things, and there are. So Bitcoin is the first system to succeed from these attempts. There have been other things like is it Bitgold, Hashcash. There have been other systems that
Ethereum, which the
no, no,
network
not
actually
even
got
this.
hacked.
I'm talking about 30 years before, like 30 years ago.
Oh
So
wow!
yeah, so Bitcoin is actually a hit in this industry. You see what I mean? Because before that, people have tried with Hashcash. Like there was even, I think it's Hashcash that Bill Gates wanted to put it in every copy of Windows, but the founder did not want to sell it. And
Yeah,
then they ended up having a double spending problem because there was no way to verify whether uh, uh, somebody who has a coin on Hashcash or something has already spent it. You see, so what was the lesson they learned? We should centralize systems, and it was also attacked. So Hashcash was attacked, and then it just went bankrupt. So the thing they learned from there is that centralization is a means to kill something because it's a point of attack. Every point where you have centralization, people, if you attack that, I mean, it's like you see people who have families now. You see young people creating a family, and the head of the family, if he's off, he's off. The family goes down, and that's even a battle technique. if you see a group, catch the head and kill it. That's how you kill the
Yeah.
group. But
Okay.
if there's no leader, if there's no leader, did you follow the Algerian war, the Battle of Algiers?
French Algerian.
Yeah, yes, Battle of Algiers.
I think I forgot. I did. I think we did that in history, but I've forgotten about it now. But
I
I
did
do
it in
know about that.
philosophy. I did it in philosophy, postmodernism.
Oh,
The what they did is they had like triangles. You have like a some two people report to one person, and then that one person is one of the two
mhm.
people that reports to another person. So you have some sort of a triangle. We call it the binary tree. In
Oh my
yeah.
God.
So
So who had that strategy? Was it the French or the
the
Algerians?
Algerians. So
Oh wow.
that way, I could just be told that, and the person I could be told that okay, I should meet you on Thursday at a certain downtown and give you this. That's it. And then you
Wow.
two have some. So each person had to meet one person, right? And that one
See.
person to meet. So there was this hierarchy like that, and it took
Yeah.
them 5 years. So it took the French 5 years to debunk that. And by the time they wanted to do, they were already bankrupt. They were already bankrupt. So the French actually killed a lot of people in Nigeria, and the war went up and down. But by the time they wanted to really just finish, by the time they cut the head, they were already bankrupt, and then the rest of Europe was already complaining much about the war, and that's how Algeria had its independence. So before they went,
Okay.
yeah. So, so that's just to show you how it decentralized a system that is the more decentralized the system is, the more difficult it is for you to penetrate it and stop it.
Yeah.
So, and that was one of
Yeah.
the lessons that they learned from that. And then, but the whole ethos is not about this militant aspect of fighting the government. No,
Yeah.
it's about a stable system, also a system that can be supported by the whole world, right?
Yeah.
But so you have to distribute it around. But now you would say,
Yeah.
okay, Google, AWS, they have distributed systems, but they it's still centralized. You
Yeah.
if you could choose Google server farms in Europe, wherever, and it will take the request from the closest spot, but it's still one entity that controls it. And if you have
Yeah.
an email and Google, see like how Twitter bans people, and that is
Yeah.
because it's centralized. That central
Yeah.
authority, the government can put pressure on them and they ban you. So you don't want to
Yeah.
put this kind of a system in a centralized thing, because people can put value there and you block it. So that's what I'm saying. It was engineered to fight all of this, and it's censorship resistant. That's another thing
Mhm.
they wanted to get. They wanted something where uh, I can't censor you. I can't stop a transaction because you are you. You see what I mean? Like like
Yeah.
like how today. Uh, yeah. Okay, we should be rounding up. So like,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Great. Just to round up, like today, if you look at things like WikiLeaks, they I think they won't stop people from donating to them through like Visa
Mhm.
and
They
Mastercard.
did that?
Yes, they did that. So you see how they can censor. Uh, you see how they can censor stuff. So such a
Yeah. Yeah.
system, yes. So there are many properties. From next time we can continue. They wanted something decentralized, take out the
Mhm.
middleman, censorship resistant. But in terms of records, the records are impractical to edit. So it's a permanent record forever. So you cannot really be motivated to do crime on it. If you really want to do a
Yeah.
crime, use US dollars and cash. So you're not going to put it on the blockchain because you think that, because they can track it. So if you, I could come to you, get a record from the judge, search your computers. If I see a Bitcoin keys, I could use it
Oh
and see.
yeah.
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 So
That makes
then you
sense.
see that you can follow the law. Yeah. So
Yeah.
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 So
Okay.
Yeah. So thanks
All
for your
right.
time.
Thanks so
Yeah.
much, Kobe. That was
Yeah.
quite an
Thanks. Yeah.
interesting discussion.
Thanks for your time. Let's continue this again. Let me know so that we can help educate people so they learn about it and the rest. And you yourself reach out anytime you want. I want to
Oh
be doing
yeah,
these
yeah.
episodes as much as possible so people learn
All
about
right.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe start touching on the other cryptocurrencies too, because
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
just everything everywhere. That's it, and it's actually quite annoying now because
Yeah.
everybody's like they just start screaming about it. I think there was
Yeah.
a scam like a few weeks ago where
Yes, there
some
was.
people. I think you've heard about this group, the Wall Street Bets,
I did. I
where
heard
somebody
of it.
started screaming about one stupid cryptocurrency,
Yeah.
and then people started putting money into it, and then the
Yeah.
guys who created it dumped it, and everybody lost their money.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, if you have time tomorrow, we could do the same. We could have. I'm actually looking to forward to holding this episode so that we could chat about it. We ourselves to get educated and those listening
Uh,
because we're getting into a
oh
new
yeah, yeah.
age. Yeah, if you look at the arguments on inflation and when we get to the parts about managing your own assets and stuff like that, you would see that it's something to participate in.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll text you out and see how we can get
Okay.
another
Yeah.
schedule to talk more.
Yeah. Alrighty. So thank you,
All right,
thanks,
thanks so
Conrad.
much.
Yeah,
No
thanks
trouble.
everyone for following. It was amazing.
All right.
To me, it was really a learning exercise.
Oh
And,
yeah, I learned a lot, and I'm
yeah.
quite. I think I'm gonna get some Bitcoins.
Mashallah. Yeah, if you want it, let's chat offline and I can connect you.
Oh
how
yeah,
to